Is your shirt one of your pieces?
Yeah, actually, so this is a shirt from my college ceramic studio, and
Oh my
I was the
God.
manager of that studio for a long time. But yeah, I ran the studio for 5 years, and then me and one of my co-managers made this like giant buddy, and it's still up actually. And he's like the kiln god of that studio.
This is The Mud Peddlers, a podcast where two nerdy ceramic artists share the behind the scenes of their worlds of clay. We are your hosts, Lindsey M Dillon.
And I am Donte of Earth Nation.
This week on the Mud Peddlers, we have a very special guest. We have Evie of Mud Monster Clayworks, who is a fantastic artist and also a fellow UCSC banana slug.
Banana slugs.
Yes, we slime. Dante's just looking at us like,
No, please go ahead. No, I'm here for it.
well, Evie, why don't you maybe start out? Tell us who you are and how do you describe your work? Give us the elevator speech.
Okay, my name is Evie. I run Mud Monster Clayworks. My work is like cute and weird. So I got a penchant for like really weird little guys, I guess.
I love that. Well, yeah, it's like your bio on Instagram is like all my friends are clay or something like that. And I'm like,
Yeah, that is what it is.
yeah. I definitely feel like your critters invite spirits to come live in them because they have so much personality.
I appreciate that.
How did you get into clay? Because we were just talking before we officially started the episode about your fantastic shirt, which says Merrill College, because again at UC Santa Cruz there's this pottery co-op.
So I took ceramics in high school. I think like a lot of us start that way, just like the door. Because it was like the coolest elective, obviously. And it was taught by this like curmudgeon-y old man who was honestly like really fucking cool. He was like half native, half French, and like he spoke like 5 different languages, including like Choctaw and like actual Old English, because he used to be an English teacher. We had 2 teachers in our high school who spoke Old English. Him and then one of the English teachers, which is like crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That's real English.
Yeah. But he was like cool, I guess. I don't think he liked me very much, but that's okay. So I got bit by the bug, and then I was like for a while, like the only thing I was looking forward to going to school was like going to ceramics. And I had like the lunch period ceramics, so I had like a 30 extra minutes to do play work, and it was awesome. And then so I actually met somebody in my high school class. His name was John, and he wasn't actually like in my period, but he like came in to do some extra work. And so like, I friended him on Facebook, and then when I posted 2 years later that I was going to UCSC, he messaged me out of the blue and was like, hey, like, are you just still doing ceramics? Because I remember you were really good. I wasn't, but he was being very nice. He was like, I'm part of this co-op on campus at Merrill, and I'd love to have you in the studio. Like, you should come through, you should join. And I was like, yeah, I could do it. So I joined. I ended up being sorted into Merrill, just I think by like divine intervention, because it was not on my list of like preferred colleges. I don't know if you can go into too much about how UCSC works, but there's like 10 residential colleges. You pick which one you want to live in. You have like you top 5, and then they sort you in based on preference and stuff. I did not get into any of my top 5, but I ended up which is where the co-op was. And so I joined, and because I lived so close, I was constantly there all the fucking time. Like you couldn't get me away from there. And so I was there so often. The managers were like, hey, you should start doing stuff, like, start doing chores for us, like, load the kiln, learn this stuff, that stuff, and then kind of fell into running it. And then I was running it for like 5 years. And then I did grad school at UCSC, not in ceramics, but just kind of just to be there longer because I wasn't ready for the real world yet.
Preach. I left, but I was not ready.
And then so I was, I stayed there and I did the co-op until COVID actually like booted us all out of the studio.
Oh, damn.
Oh, so that was recent.
Yeah. I graduated. I finished my master's like 2020. I took an extra quarter because of the pandemic. But it was like my last year of grad school, like when that happened.
Yeah, I forget because you got your undergrad in studio art, right? Or was it digital design?
It is in video game design.
Oh,
yeah. My grad program was an extension of that. I had my MFA in visual arts and new media, doing game stuff, and that's actually what I'm doing for work now. Is I work at a mobile game company.
Oh, hell yeah, that's awesome.
It's like
What
a
a
weird
great
thing.
mindset
Most
to
people are like, I didn't know you could major in that. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't really either until I got here.
Yeah, yeah. I remember actually because since I got my degree in studio art, when I found out that there was like a class where you could combine it was like the video game department and the art department like co-opt to like help build a video game, and like we would provide the art. I felt so bad because like I did not know digital art well enough to effectively help this team, but I remember that being like just so cool. But yeah, no, it's true. Like so many people don't like think that that can be a career. I feel like I'm asking like a lot of questions and like just geeking out. So Dante, do you have any like questions
It
before I
it
keep going?
technically is an interview, Lindsay. Please don't feel bad for going into interview mode.
Okay, okay. So since you brought up, like what you do for your full-time job, and you also have this really incredible following on social media, like how have you balanced the like growing your ceramics business and maintaining your full-time job? Because if I remember at some points you were kind of thinking about maybe going full-time into the arts. And so I mean, I think that's something that a lot of folks who are doing ceramics and who have this bug are like, oh, I want to do this, full time, but there's so many different like ways to navigate that.
Yeah.
So, what has it been like, kind of growing your business alongside working in the video game industry?
Admittedly, I'm bad at it, and I've been out of ceramics for a little bit. By saying that, I've been out of it for a little bit, and that definitely like I kind of jumped out of it when I decided to go into industry and look for a job. I think the graduating from grad school and like the pandemic really afforded me time to like do the business thing, like the ceramics thing full time, and I was doing
Mhm.
that for like a year or two. But then my health insurance ran out, so I had to go
Ah,
find a
yeah.
job and get that. And I think there was also just like this push from my parents to like use this degree they've paid for to like
Oh,
get a
Yeah.
job. But the ceramics thing is something that I would like to get back into. It's not something that I want to have abandoned, and so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that is like something that I'm also figuring out of like how am I going to balance this whole like having this whole business on the side of like doing my work stuff,
Yeah.
and how to make it something that I don't feel like burnt out on, because that was a big thing with like I'm sure you guys can relate, like doing your passion for work for and selling work to make money and not like
Mhm.
making work to enjoy
Yeah.
yourself. It's this whole thing, right? And that was definitely part of why I got out of it. Was I kind of fell into this cycle of I think just making work that I knew would make money, and then like feeling like
Mhm.
I could only make things that I knew would sell, because the worst thing is like having a shop update and nothing sells.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Kills your motivation real quick.
Yeah, and you get all these questions of like, am I good enough to do this? Like, is it me? Is it the art? Like, am I not posting enough? Is it the algorithm? Or am I not making stuff that's interesting? Like, are people tired of me? And I got to this point where like the stuff that had been selling out like constantly was just not selling anymore, and I didn't know what to do, right? And so I decided to take a break from it. And also, I've been working in a home studio, and it's like not ideal.
Oh,
It's not ideal for production.
yeah.
It's like definitely fine for small scale work, but my kiln is like the Scut. It's like the KM13 or something, like the doll kiln,
Yeah.
the little one.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I have
baby.
one over here, and it's like a jewelry box essentially.
I love her. I love her. But like she worked real hard for me. Maybe too hard. Like
Yeah.
I had to replace the elements on it for like the third time in a year, and I was like, this is too much. I can't do
Damn.
it.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
because when you're constantly firing, like and I can only fit 6 mugs, 7 mugs in a
Oh
week,
yeah. Yeah,
so
yeah.
like I'm constantly running firings and burning that shit out. Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, I had to replace the elements on my Scud 818, and I didn't realize how bad they were. Um
Oh, it's not. You don't realize how bad they are until you pull them out, and you're like, holy
oh
shit.
no. And I didn't even do it myself. Like I actually hired someone from the ceramic studio, the ceramic supply company that I source from, because I was like, I really don't want to fuck up my kiln. Like this, I bought my
Yeah.
kiln new. Like I don't want to screw this up. And thank God I did, because I would have fucked up my kiln.
When you see them
Um,
do it, you're like, I could not have done that.
yeah, no, 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 not with how messed up mine my coils were. But anyway, that's beside the point. Like what I find also like amazing is that you were able to build your business while also doing grad school. Like let's not just like cruise past the fact that you were getting your master's degree while also building this like business. Like that's a
Just
lot.
say I was not the best student.
Well, hey, something's got to give, right?
Someone's gotta give. I was definitely like manager of the pottery studio before I was a grad student, and maybe
Yeah.
that wasn't the best use of my time in grad school, but it
Well, you got a job in the video game industry, and those are coveted for those.
are
who wanna do
coveted.
Yeah,
that.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I wish I could work for Raid Shadow Legends.
Oh my God,
It'd work.
Dante, don't even
I
mention.
wouldn't mind working for Raid Shadow Legends. So
And we're gonna segue into our sponsor for this week, Raid Shadow.
Oh yeah,
Raid
exactly.
Shadow
You know, it's so funny. Cody one time was literally like, because we were talking about sponsorships and stuff, and he was basically like, Lindsey, even if Raid Shadow Legends approaches you,
So,
say
yeah,
no. You
have to
will
say no.
lose your credibility if you
Yep.
accept Raid Shadow Legends. So, oh my God, but yeah, I think yeah, like I think we can all really relate to that sense of kind of feeling shoehorned or like into the specific like money making arena, and it's tricky because like so I do ceramics full time. Dante also has a full time job in addition to doing ceramics, so it's like we both kind of approached it differently, but it's like it is really hard because especially when there's not that other kind of safety blanket of like knowing what your other income is going to be. Yeah, it's hard. And there's always this like, at least speaking for myself, there's always this fear of like, oh, are people like tired of me yet? You know, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Um,
There's also an aesthetic of like the things that I like to make versus the things that I know are going to sell are completely different.
Oh my
And
God, yeah.
they're super like I don't want to make cups with images on them anymore, guys. Like I don't care how well it sells on Etsy. And I want to make big old like Grecian amphora vases and like Korean moon jars. And I want to make like super simplistic raw work that has a beautiful plate. Like I want to make new glazes and people are like, no, I want a couple of those doggies on it. I'll buy it for $40.
So many times I feel like I've like made something, I'm like, this is it. This is my magnum opus, and I post it, and it's like 300 likes.
Oh God.
Yeah.
And then you post like a mug with a face on it, and it's like 10K likes, and I'm like, okay, if that's what the people want, you know, like.
Lindsey and I were
Oh,
speaking
God.
about that before we started. Actually, it's super frustrating because it's not like I don't really feel bad for people who are pigeonholed that jump into the pigeonhole actively, but in the ceramic art world specifically, and I imagine other sectors of the art world, there's a type of person who usually are not indoctrinated into the art world who go, this is what we like. And they're not to say they're not artists, but they're not the sector of artists that you're in. So they go, we want blue, we want face, we want smiley, we want a cup that says believe on it, just says believe on it in blue, you know? Super innocuous. But as the artist, we're like, yeah, culturally we're not usually into that aesthetic. Usually, I'll say. Yeah, it essentially pigeonholes us for us, regardless of wanting to jump into that aesthetic of cute ceramics. That like it's definitely not my aesthetic, but I've learned like if I want my stuff to sell, I'm gonna have to put a symbol on it that gouges your nostalgia with the color blue. I'm gonna have to, or else you won't buy it.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, and I don't want to go into that pigeonhole, but like also I don't eat glaze. I eat groceries, and I need to pay for them.
Oh my God, if there was a ceramics golem or like a warforged, like a clay warp. Oh, like oh my
A
God, there's
glaze golem.
like a glaze golem. Yeah. Then that would be our food is glaze. But
I'd be
yeah.
set from Naruto forever. They would send
Oh,
me
yeah.
a pack. Yeah, that'd be
Oh
tight.
yeah. Yeah, you'd be good. You'd be great. Well, Evie, you from what I remember seeing, like you really made an active push, it seems like, when you kind of recognized what, you know, kind of like the pinhole that you were not pinhole, what's the word? The shoehorning. Being there's so many metaphors for this place of being
The
stuck in a
stereotype, the
certain box.
pigeonhole, the pinhole,
Pigeonhole, you know,
the
shoebox.
brown hole. There's a lot
Yeah.
of them.
Indeed, indeed. But anyway, you made like a push to make a lot more sculptural work from what I remember seeing. What was that like when you started spending more time working on sculptural pieces? Like, were you also making mugs and such to sell, or were you kind of saying, no, I'm not going to do any more mugs right now. I'm just going to focus on sculpture? Because if I remember as well, you also had a show in Companion Gallery, I think, but I can't remember if that was for mugs or if that was for your sculptures.
I think it was mugs for Companion,
Okay.
and then I did another gallery for any of them. Charlie Cummings.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Those actually happened like a little bit separate from each other, so they weren't happening concurrently, which was thank God, because I I don't know if you've ever done like 2 shows at a time, but I feel like it's so much. Like
No, no. I kind of don't seek out shows.
I barely do shows either because I
yeah,
get more exposure on the internet than I do shows, sadly.
I
Yeah.
want to do shows. Like I feel like that's what's fun to me, is to like it feels good to feel like
Mhm.
somebody wanted me to show, and like the like pompous part of me I think is like, oh yeah, I'm in a gallery, that like I
Yeah,
mean something, you know, I made it, you know.
No, I mean for sure there is that sense that it's like, oh yeah, like success means being in a gallery, because I think
Yeah.
especially in the arts, that's the kind of social clout that we're kind of
Exactly.
groomed to see as
I've
success.
been told
But
as well, you know.
It's
yeah.
like, do my Instagram follower count does that mean anything, or you know, does it like a gallery cooler, right? Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
speak to like somebody 20 years my senior who's like not on Instagram. If I'm like, yeah, I have 70,000 Instagram followers, they're like, oh, okay. And if I'm like, I've been in 3 galleries, they'd be like, what? You're good at
Oh,
this.
God.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God.
yeah. But as
People-
far as your original question goes, I think at that point I had decided I was jumping out of doing the like content loop for Instagram. I was kind of done with I was done with my shop update for now, you know, and I was just gonna focus on like doing the work for these shows and like putting the time into it, especially with sculpture work. I like it, you know, you don't want to rush sculpture work, but also I'm so bad at like taking the time, and like I'm gonna spend a week on this one project, like fuck, catch me done in 3 days. Like I can't, like
I'm
like,
jealous. I wish I could get through my sculptures that fast, but good Lord.
yeah. I want to do more of that stuff, I think. It feels less like I'm doing it to satisfy like the Instagram thing, and more like I'm doing it because it's fun. But it's
Yeah.
also this kind of stuff that doesn't sell as well.
Yeah.
When you're
Mhm.
spending like weeks on a sculpture that's going for like hopefully like several hundred, if not thousands of dollars, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, then who's going to pay for it? How are you going to ship it? Like one of the pieces that I shipped to Charlie Cummings like just didn't make it. It, you know, broke on the way. I got it back, and it hopefully going to be repaired and listed for someone to purchase. And
Yeah.
like,
Have you ever heard of kintsugi?
Oh my
The
God.
thing where it's like beautiful because it's been broken. I actually don't mean to like shit on it that bad, because it is actually legitimately a very cool and very like storied and historic practice.
No, it's fantastic. It's just been like appropriated by Facebook aunties.
oh my
You know, it's just been
gosh.
like and like every single post I get from someone of a certain archetype is just like, oh my God, kintsugi. It means even though something's old and broken, that it's still useful. And I'm like, I get it. You're projecting. I get it. Okay? I get it.
I will admit, like, if I'm gonna mend something, I'm gonna do it with my 2-part epoxy and my gold powder, you know. But
Oh
like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
I do. I do it with gold and gold luster, essentially.
oh,
The
that's
gold
good.
luster usually fuses it together if it's a small enough crack.
That's fair. Yeah, I cannot be bothered to put things through luster firings sometimes.
Oh God, I have still never done one. I had a dream last night that I did one, which is actually kind of bizarre.
You should do one.
Yeah, I guess so. The kiln gods are speaking to me.
They've got all kinds of shit now. They got like platinum luster and like silver
Yeah.
luster. They have rose gold luster, and I'm like, they got rose
Ooh.
gold luster. Like,
Do you have any shows that you're looking at applying to?
I don't usually apply. I think the only one I've ever applied to is my first show at Companion. All the other ones have been invitationals.
Oh,
Oh,
nice. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I feel good about that.
Yeah,
But I've
that's a
definitely
good ass
been
feeling.
out of it long enough that I think people aren't like don't have me on their short list.
Oh, I think you frozen, or I'm frozen. Oh no.
Cool.
Okay, Dante, are you back?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, you were just frozen, weren't you? You were
Yeah,
just. Oh my God.
Get you baited. Sorry. I saw the
Me
opportunity.
I'm over here
I saw her
panicking.
freeze, and I was like, "This is it. I can do the thing."
For our dear listeners who don't know why we're cursing out Dante right now, we had a minor blip in the feed, and then Dante just froze to make it look like his feed was also frozen. Meanwhile, I'm panicking over here, thinking that we're gonna have to restart some shit. And oh my god. Anyway, but no, it I think the nice thing about shows, like kind of like what you're saying, is especially when it comes to shipping, like knowing that they're gonna take care of that. They have a reach to that audience that is going to have or is going to be more likely to like drop the kind of money on a sculpture that would need to be done. And it's like, I think at least there can be ways to sort of, this isn't quite the right terminology, but I think there can be ways to like train your audience to recognize that, like, okay, this is a sculpture, this is going to be worth a lot more, and like it may not reach most of your audience, but I think that I don't know. I'm basically just repeating what other people have told me, but it's like if you're trying to make a shift in your style and in the kind of work that you're making, eventually if you kind of keep like leaning into the kind of style that you want to make, the folks who aren't into that are going to drop off, but
Yeah.
you might be gaining new people who are into that like new thing who may not have followed you before. It's just like
Yeah.
I can't imagine what an arduous process that would be.
My people pleasing tendencies could never.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. That's totally fair.
That's like the thing, right? Because like I totally get this shift of like, yeah, the people who don't like you anymore are just gonna stop following you, and that's
Right.
okay. That's totally okay. But when I see that follower count drop, I'm like, I'm doing something wrong, right? Like, I don't. Yeah, and it doesn't feel like it's just like, oh, the shift in my style, they just don't like it anymore. Like, totally reasonable things. As a consumer, I do it all the time, right?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
As a creator, I'm like, no, I can't. I need to make the art that everyone wants to see from me, and I need to make them happy, you know?
Oh god.
And like to my audience's credit, everyone is so wonderful. Like the people who follow me are so lovely, and like no one has ever. I've never gotten the like you charge too much, or you know, and like
that's good.
I think I charge an exorbitant amount. Like I think I charge more than I need to. I think it's way higher than it should be, and like that was one thing that I just could not get over. And like all my friends, you know, are just like, you need to get over your shit because like people are paying for it. This is how much it's worth. You spend so much time. Like this is how much it's worth.
Yeah, yeah.
But I just couldn't like. It's just. But nobody has ever like called me out for it or anything, or just like grief about it.
Yeah.
Because from your point of view, it's like we're making cups with like faces on them, or I'm making cups like symbols on them, and you're like, as the artist, you're like, I would not pay this much for this.
Right? Okay. No, I feel
like,
bad.
As the artist, you're like, I would not pay $50 to $60 for like a smiley face on a cup. But they're like, no, I like that. Please keep doing that. I like it. I'll pay you $70, you know, and I get it.
Yeah, I'm like, whoa.
I argue with Lindsey all the time. I'm like, I want to drop my price, and she's like, no.
Yeah, I know.
Didn't you develop a glaze yesterday? And I'm like, it's not that pretty.
When we get to this point, like where you guys are and where I was, we're just cranking this workout because we're doing it all the time. Like, of course, we're getting faster, and we're getting faster about it and more efficient. And we're like, okay, well, it's taking less time, so I have to drop my prices, right?
Right.
And it's,
no,
you fucking should not. Like,
yeah, no, absolutely not. It's funny because I generally, my approach with pricing is much more like if they're gonna pay for it, like if I set a price and they're paying for it, okay, then that's a good price. You know, once it kind of stops off a little bit, I'm like, okay, I might be reaching like the limit for now of like what I can charge, right? And again, this is dependent on like who your audience is, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, like I remember having this conversation with my mom because I love her and she's amazing and she's always like a good sounding board for business stuff. And I was like, yeah, no, like my this is before I had raised my prices, but I was like, no, my work isn't a $70 mug. It's a stein with like a square shaped, you know, stamp print on it. And meanwhile, I'm comparing myself to people like, oh geez, of course, now I'm spacing on their names. So anyway, I'm comparing myself to the kinds of artists who sell and companion gallery. And I'm like, my work is not worth that much. But, you know, now it's like the more that I have, you know, the more time has passed, the longer I've been doing this, as I've inched up my prices closer to where I thought that ceiling was, I'm like, okay, no, like I actually, in my perspective at least, what you're paying for is not obviously not just the thing itself. And that's where it gets tricky because you're kind of paying for the artist's personality, their whole education, their whole, you know, time that it took them to develop it to be able to make it that fast. But it is also, I think it takes a level of just capitalism to be like, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. But again, we're all trying to survive this late stage capitalist nightmare. And if we want to do that, we need money. So I don't know. That's kind of where my perspective is on it. Maybe it's a little easier for me because I'm like, oh, if I don't charge this, I literally won't be able to pay my rent because this is all where my income is
Yeah.
coming from.
I
Yeah.
also don't want to make it about money, but like my overlords have made it about money. So now it's about money. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
really wish I could make a pot and sell it for the price that I want it to be and still be able to work like a 9 to 5 job and have this be my hobby and have all my need. Like my baby still has enough food and my car's paid up, but like that's not the way the economy works anymore.
No,
They've been
Mhm.
so like now I am forced to do a little bit of price raising, which I don't want to do. I don't like raising my price. It's not fun for me. I don't wake up in the morning like, oh, I'm gonna raise my prices. It's a good day.
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning and go, well, I want people to enjoy my beautiful work that I put so much effort into. I want them to have it in their hands, to have that person that like experience. You know, I want them to feel what I craft, and I want it to impact their lives, whether it be minuscule or larger. But
Yeah.
like nowhere in that process is my brain like, I hope I get all their money too. Like I'm not doing that. It's just I don't want to make it about money, but the economy has made it about money. So I now have to play the game that I'm an unwilling participant in. And
Mhm.
that's my real struggle, you know?
Yeah, I would love nothing more than like my favorite thing is the people who are like, I bought your thing and I just like put it on my desk. I see it every day and it makes me smile, you know?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like I would love that for everyone if I could just give you a buddy, you know,
Yep.
to look at and smile every day. I would love that, you know? I would love to just give
Yeah.
you that for free. And like if you were in the studio with me in college, like I was constantly giving shit away that like,
Yeah.
you know, that I didn't want or wasn't gonna sell or like made too many of. I'm just constantly giving that shit away. Like I don't
Yeah.
want to charge exorbitant prices, but like if it's how you're making your living, then that's how it is. You know, it's not about us wanting your money. It's about us wanting to fucking survive. And like, I don't know where you're based, Dante, but like, I know you're in California, right, Lindsay?
Yeah, yeah, I'm in Sacramento. Yeah, we're both.
Yeah,
Lindsay
and I
lives like 6 miles from me.
Yeah.
okay. Cool. You guys are next to each other right now, and I just can't tell. But yeah, I'm in the Bay Area, and like I was doing this like in the Bay Area, like in the heart of Silicon Valley.
Oh my
Like,
god.
I wasn't gonna make it if I wasn't charging like, you know,
Yeah.
pretty ridiculous shit. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. How much did you charge for your cups? If I mean, again, if you don't mind me asking.
yeah, no, of course. You can probably find it if you went to my shop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I think like a pretty basic mug, like anywhere from like 70 to 90, and then like
Nice.
something that I actually like put the time into paint, like easily $200.
Yeah.
Nice.
Damn.
Yeah,
I mean,
know.
but that makes sense though. You know, this is actually really helpful because I just recently made a bunch of Dragon Egg mugs that are going to be for sale at Sac Anime, and I've been like hemming and hawing about the prices, and I'm like, yeah, I need to
Whatever
up
it is, raise it 20% right now. I don't.
Okay.
Whatever it is, just raise
Okay.
it.
All right. Thanks, bro.
My most expensive mugs are like $60. If I'm like, I really like this mug, $60 on my website.
Evie, help me convince this misguided person.
Lindsay's been trying to get me to raise my. I actually just lowered my prices, and then when I go to a table, I'm like, well, I'm not paying for shipping, and I don't have to pay the packing, and I don't have to pay the stamp price. So like that's $10 off the. You know what I mean? Like I lower the price because I'm like, I'm giving it to you in person.
For
No,
shame. For
no,
shame.
you gotta upcharge for convention because you gotta bring it all there.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It is hard to lift stuff to a convention.
And that shit fragile. So like
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, that shit is fragile.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
It's
Yeah.
fragile.
For context, like when I did Companion, I did a show. I had 4 mugs. Each of those mugs was like a hand painted one off. Each one was $200, and they all sold instantly.
Hell
You just
yeah.
got $4?
4 mugs, yeah.
Yeah.
God
But
damn.
how much did Companion take?
Companion took it was like 50%. It was like pretty high.
Okay,
But
yeah.
Gallery stuff is always like they're gonna charge for the space and the time and the
Mm-hmm.
and like that's
Yeah.
what it is. But like if it had been on my shop, I would not have charged less, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hell yeah. Yeah, the pricing for galleries is a tricky one. That's kind of part of the reason I never did, or I don't do wholesale very often because it's just not worth it for me to like, yeah, anyway, I can sell direct to people, but anyway, that's kind of a different
I used
conversation.
to
But
get some inquiries about wholesale, and honestly, I think it'd be so fun to like have my stuff in a shop front. I was just in LA this weekend. I was at Nucleus, and there were like there wasn't ceramics there, but there are all these artists I follow who like have their prints there and have their
oh,
pins
cool.
there. other stuff, and I'm like, wow, it'd be so cool to be in a space like this and to sell my work and like get that exposure. But like you're sacrificing like easily 20, 30, if not more percentage of the stuff you're making.
Yeah, yeah. If not more. I mean, like I think the lowest percentage that I've ever received on consignment was they took like 40%,
Yikes.
you know. Yeah.
The
And that's the
lowest
lowest rate I've gotten.
the lowest I've ever gotten something like cut off the top was 20%, but that was like I think galleries during COVID were just lowering the rates a lot because they weren't
Yeah.
doing like open shows or anything.
Mhm.
They were just hosting all this stuff online. And that's kind of what I was used to because that's when I started doing gallery stuff, was like around that time. And so now I'm like, rude awakening, everything's like 40, 50% off the top. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I have kind of a bone to pick with a lot of galleries because like it's seen in the public eye, or at least the previous generation, to be very prestigious to be in a gallery. But
Mhm.
simultaneously, I'm getting nowhere near the amount of foot traffic as I get for a simple post on a gallery. And on top of that, they're charging me like anywhere from 20 to 50% on sale. And on top of that, even when I give them something that I'm like, I want this to sell, so I'm gonna make it like $100, they throw a fuss about like, that's not enough because we don't get enough from that. And then I'm like, bro, I could make an Instagram post and blow you out the water right now. Will you please just take this?
Yeah.
Will you please just so? And then the other part of it, and I know I'm ranting a little bit, but the other part of it is that I go to my own art show, and it's nothing but like sometimes it's like really snobby people. You know what I mean? I go to an art show, and it's a whole different culture from the maker versus the people who are part of the culture who like to go to art shows.
Yeah.
So like on top of the fact that I don't get a lot of exposure, on top of the fact that they don't sell for a lot and they take a commission, I'm getting less traffic. I just don't like the culture that comes along with it realistically. And the shop also wants me to raise my prices just because they want more money out of the bag. And I'm just trying to like get it out of here so I can make better stuff. Because I have stuff sitting here that's like 3 years old that I'm done. Like I want to experiment more, you know? But like it's so much of a hassle when I could just make a YouTube video and ship it to you. Let me name it Dragon Nut and sell it for $100, please. Like, you know?
Yeah. Make them
Sorry.
dragon nuts.
Just Dragon Nuts. Dragon these
Yeah.
nuts.
This is our sponsor, Bad Dragon.
I've never heard of that my
Oh
entire life.
yeah, never.
I don't know
Not
what
once.
that is. I've never.
I know. I'm sorry, Evie.
There's people listening to this right now who are like, why are they laughing so hard?
Just put your Google on incognito mode and search Bad Dragon.
No, don't. First of all, don't search it. Second of all, I'm sorry that you only do it in missionary if you don't know. I'm so sorry. I'm hella sorry.
And this episode's now explicit.
Yeah. But for those of you who are
Worth it.
busted up right now, you're welcome.
You're welcome. Yeah, yeah. Oh my God. Okay, that actually reminds me of a much more toned down question for you, Evie. But I promise it's not about Bad Dragon. But I was curious, since you went to UC Santa Cruz, like, and you were working and developing your art within a kind of an academic context, did you ever run into that dynamic of anti-industry, anti-capitalism thing? Because I got my degree specifically in art and you were in the video game department, which is more like industry focused. So was that something you dealt with at all, or were you kind of away from that picture?
I feel like it's everywhere in Santa Cruz, especially, you know.
Yeah.
Love Santa Cruz, but let's be honest, it's a bit hippy dippy, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's definitely like an attitude about art and like capitalism and like where that stuff fits that, you know, is there. But I think the people I was around in the ceramic studio, like one of my best friends, Santa Cruz Ceramic, shout out, go follow.
Hell yeah.
My friend Jordan at the co-op is very much like, he's a hustler. He's got like 4 different businesses that he's running right now.
Oh,
He's
wow.
like very successful in all of them. And, you know, he was very much like encouraging me, like, you should make money off this. Like, this is something that you should do. And like, it's okay to do this, you know? And like, yeah, there's obviously the understanding, like, this is like the capitalist agenda or whatever. But like Dante was saying earlier, like, we're just forced to play this game, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to play this game, but they force me to. Like,
that's okay, you know? And like, as far as like with the academic stuff, like in my undergrad in games, like definitely wasn't there. Like we were basically in the STEM program.
Okay.
I did I was actually in the computer science side because there were 2 majors, the art and the computer science game design programs. And the art one was really new. It happened like after I had already declared for the regular one.
Okay.
And so there's definitely just the side of like the people here are like, I don't I don't want to be rude. I love the game design program. Everyone in it is wonderful. But like the people in it are definitely like one step away from like STEM, corporate STEM, like,
Oh
like
yeah,
code, but I'm fun, so I do games. Like, like,
right.
and there's a definitely like nobody in that program was like, yeah, I'm doing this so that I can like not get a job and like not support myself doing this at some point.
Yeah.
Grad school was a little different. My grad school program was like an MFA program that was very much like gallery and like high art and like contemporary art and like really just like weird and like
Oh yeah, because it was digital arts new media.
denim
Yeah,
program. Yeah, and I mean that's a whole mess in and of itself. The program is like kind of a shit show, if I'm being honest. As many grad programs are. But there's definitely this like sense of like we're here to do the art. It's about the art. Like nobody was in it to make money, like nobody's in it to like for their job necessarily. Like people were there to like just for the chance to like do art and like make real art, like a space that they could get funding to do it. Yeah, and that was but I don't feel like there was ever this like this voice telling me like you shouldn't make art for money. I think that if I was making art for money, people were going to congratulate me about it. Like congrats, you did it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely there. I definitely think that it was probably more there in the undergraduate arts. If like I don't know if that was your experience in your studio art.
Yeah, I struggle daily to navigate what that experience was like at Santa Cruz. And again, listeners have heard me say this probably too many times. It is the one soapbox that gets a lot of foot traffic from me, I'll say. I learned a lot through the program at Santa Cruz. Like, I think I learned so much more about the art world that I don't think I would have gotten if I had not gone through that program or if I had gone through a program with a different focus. I learned how to write about my art. I learned how to think about my art in a more deep way, I guess, and not like as in like not as in like a false like air humanity kind of, but like a genuinely like why do I do this? And I think that's important for artists to kind of be able to answer that question for themselves because and then communicate that because I think that helps us connect with our audience both on an emotional level and on a capitalist level because if people feel like they know you, they're more likely to buy your stuff. So weird saying this stuff out loud sometimes.
It is weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a little weird. But yeah, but at a like I remember hearing a story about someone who had wanted to go to Santa Cruz and they were interested in illustration like for doing like children's book and such. And the person that they were talking to in like the admissions department, and again, this is anecdotal, so who knows, but the person in the admissions department was basically like, yeah, we don't do illustration here. We do like art. And it was like, wow, all right, cool. So if you like want to make a living in the arts, like Santa Cruz isn't for you, like really. And again, maybe it's changed since then. And again, I appreciate the education that I received, and I understand why they had that approach. But I think a more candid discussion of what it actually means to have a business in the arts, that should be an integral part of the program as well. So yeah, I love like hearing what people's experiences.
Yeah, I will say like I've been asked by lots of different people like would I recommend UCSC as the school to go to for games, for grad program, whatever. I always tell them like I think that you'll get something out of it and you can get whatever you want to get out of it if you go into it knowing that's what you want,
Yeah.
Build your own free, like you can find whatever you need to find there. But it's not none of the programs I think are geared towards industry in any field. Yeah,
really, even in the video game design one.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is true across a lot of video game programs, but I think the number of like the percentage of graduates out of our program who get a job in industry is something like 10%. Like,
oh my god,
most of those people do not go on to work in games because it's not a program that is really geared towards getting you a job in games. Like, you don't come out of it with like a really thorough, in-depth portfolio, and in part that's because it's so new and it's figuring its shit out. But I think it's also because like the focus is different. The focus is on making like weird, experimental, artistic things and like pushing the boundaries of what games can be, which I loved. It gave me a really awesome opportunity to experiment with that stuff. It's not something that you're gonna find in industry very much. But like if you're trying to go to college just to get a job, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't recommend going here.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's okay. It's a research university. You're gonna get what you get.
I've
Yeah.
only been there once, and I went there because my wife was going there, and like I
Wait,
just needed,
Abel is a banana slug?
yes.
Yes, I didn't
She
know
actually,
that.
I think she either graduated from there or she was for like the most of her degree. But
Mhm.
I went over. We were dating like on and off, and I went there. I just drove like 9 hours up there to go see her. And the second that I got there, I was like, wow. So everybody here smokes weed. I see. Yeah, so everybody. And then I talked to a couple of people going there, and they're like, yeah, man, I'm here for like hydroponics. And I'm like, you're learning how to grow weed. I see. I get it.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, that's
When
amazing.
everyone you talk to is either ecology and evolutionary biology or they're like agriculture, and you're like, okay, I see you.
Yeah.
I see.
I
Yeah.
get it. Yeah. You have a tie-dye Bob Marley shirt on and you want to ask for a lighter. I understand. I can see you. Yeah.
I love it. I'm just gonna say, like, I ran a pottery studio in Santa Cruz for 5 years. When people ask me, like, how much of a stoner were you in college? I'm like, I ran a pottery studio in Santa Cruz for 5 years. People would bribe me
Yeah.
with weed. Like, I got so much weed. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
accidentally broke your bowl, Evie. Here's a jar of weed. Oh, could you get my piece into the kiln next time? Here's a jar of weed. Like,
Yeah.
I love that. Kiln
you teach
space
me
for
how to send
pot.
your
Hell
email, let me
yeah.
you out. You know,
Everybody's
like,
wearing hemp pants and like people who like don't usually look like they should have dreadlocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a lot of them.
yeah.
Oh
No,
yeah,
I
Santa
love,
Cruz. That's over
I
that.
love Santa Cruz, but it is what it is. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody kind of also look like, unless I was in the college because I went around the surrounding towns. Everybody kind of looked like they were a bit related, and I was worried about that. And not in a facial feature way, like in a like you all kind of dress
Like a
the same. Yeah,
cultural
it's the
siblings.
culture was. I think you and I, and to you definitely, you've experienced it as well. Is like we're super spoiled because we live in Sacramento, which is like the interracial marriage capital of the world, and we have like 70, and like it's not like we have 80%. It's like Utah. We have like mostly white people, and like there's
Yeah.
the other culture is over there in the south side of town. It's like we have food made by the people in which the culture originated the food from here. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
But
mhm.
when I went to Santa Cruz, I was like, damn, your guys' Chinese food sucks.
don't even get me started. Do not get me started. If I didn't know there was no Asian market in Santa Cruz, I'm not sure I would have gone there. Like,
Yeah. We have like an SF market down the street from where I live. And I was like, you guys don't have that in Santa Cruz? They're like, no, what the hell is that? And I'm like, damn.
I remember one of my friends who went to Santa Cruz with me is from like Loomis, which is
Mhm.
like, like put your white face on before you go. But
Yeah.
and she was like, "Oh yeah, it's just so diverse here," and I'm like, I don't remember the last time I saw a black person. Like,
Yeah.
actually, like I don't remember the last time I saw an Indian person. Like, like
Yeah.
it's definitely more diverse than Loomis, but like it's not
Not
much.
no. I remember it being super weird. Like, I went to school at McClatchy High School, and it was a very diverse school. So it was super weird going to Santa Cruz. And again, like I'm white, so obviously my experience is different there. But it was definitely like, oh yeah, like everybody looks like me, except
Yeah.
for the people who are at Oaks. And then it was just like, or God, what was it? Like, yeah, anyway, I mean, Santa Cruz had its own whole, yeah, at least from what I could observe, like this weird, like, not housing segregation, but also kind of housing segregation within like the different colleges. So yeah, it was, yeah, that actually, okay, so that makes me curious. And again, if this is like too personal of a question, like, just let me know if you don't want to talk about it. But like, do you ever feel like people have tried to, again, pigeonhole you based on your ethnicity? Like, has that played a role in how you've interacted with either the academic world or the art world?
That's a very good question. Like yes and no. Like I think that part of like I make really cute, weird little guys, like my
Mhm.
mouth is very cute, and like that fits what you would think when you look at me. You're like, that's the kind of art she'd make, right? Like she's a little
Oh.
girl, right? Like makes like weird little creatures, like, and like I do wonder how much it plays into it. Like I don't know if it's been explicitly pointed out to me, and I don't know if I've ever been told like you can't make that because you're not white, or you're like
Yeah.
because you're Asian, you can't make that kind of art, But like I do think that like the aesthetic that has gotten popular for my work, and like I think I make a lot of like in my personal work and like stuff before I got really big in doing Mud Monster. I make really diverse work like across
Mhm.
many different mediums, and it's not lost on me that what got famous is like the stuff that you might find from like a small Asian girl, right? Like
Oh yeah. Oh,
yeah,
that's
like
interesting.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if I would have done as well. Like, if we'd switched art, you and me, if I was making like a bunch of D&D art and you're making a bunch of like little creatures, like, I don't know if it would do as well.
Oh man.
Yeah, I feel it. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
And
interesting.
like, I don't want to be like the D&D scene is like a bunch of white people.
No, I mean it's definitely a bunch of white
right?
people.
Like,
yeah. Like it's getting
it's
better, but it's definitely a bunch of white people. And like, yeah. And I'll sometimes run into this, or a little bit less so, since I've kind of like, because I used to present much more like feminine in general, but since I've kind of leaned away from that, I get this a little bit less. But sometimes people will like look at me and then like look at like the creature sculptures that I make, and they'll go like, that came out of you, but you're so bubbly, this thing looks like it's gonna eat your face. And I'm like, no,
love your creature art.
Thank you. I want to do more of it. I want to do more.
I want you to make more of it, because it's some of my favorite stuff that you make. Like,
God, yeah, no, me too. That's whenever I fantasize about getting a state job, it's thinking about being able to make sculptures full time, or not full time, but like full time outside of like a state job. But yeah. Anyway, so Donte, I know you've had some interesting experiences too with people like looking at you and looking at your art and being like,
I mean, there's multiple levels to it, and I've gotten I guess chided for this before, where like I'll say like, yeah, the most of the art world's not only buyers but practitioners, especially in the pottery sector, are usually like middle-aged, usually Caucasian, and usually female. But I don't say that because like I'm trying to put anyone down or trying to be like, oh, those dang white people, like I'm saying that because historically speaking, the disenfranchised have been the people who haven't had the space, the time, the land, the money, the equipment to express themselves in an artistic fashion. So like, just from the trickle down of history, you haven't had a lot of people who have the ability to express themselves in ceramics or spend 3 G's on a kiln, because their ancestors didn't pass them down like a plot of land, or you know what I mean? And I know it's difficult to say because everyone feels like they have their own struggles, but like we have our personal struggles. And then we have like the historical struggles that our families have gone through as per the current of history has taken us.
It's
and
almost as though white privilege is a thing.
Yeah, it's almost, yeah. So it's not like it's not like I'm saying this thing because I'm like, yeah, for some reason white old ladies just decided to do pottery. It's like, well, there's a historical reason as to why they fell into the sector. And so when someone sees me and they go like, oh, you made that, their immediate thought is like, you're not a woman. Why are you doing the art? You're not a woman. And then they see my curly hair and they're like, are you Cuban? And then they see my white skin and they're like, are you Spanish? Because you have curly hair and white skin. And sometimes that happens. And like I get that I'm not the exact demographic of like person who does ceramic artwork because they have like the time, the space, the money, the availability to the equipment, the place for the support system, especially because like if you're living paycheck to paycheck, or you're someone who has been or if you're someone who's part of a group that has been economically and historically disenfranchised by another top social group of people, you're probably not the kind of person who's not like the chances of you living to paycheck are much more than like Stacy, or you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to be nice about it, but just historically and factually speaking, that's what it is. So when someone
wherever you
sees, I don't know. Like, it doesn't really matter what your name is.
I just gotta say though, Stacy's mom has got it going on.
Yo, Stacy's, like when I was younger, I used to be like Stacy, and then I reached 20 and I was like, Stacy doesn't know what to do with it, I don't think. But Stacy's mom
has got it going on. She's all I want, and I've waited for so long.
That's so actually interesting that you say that you bring up that song, because that song has such strong associations with ceramics to me. Because when in the studio, I used to like put my music on, and that was always the song that would get the whole studio going.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's great.
I will say, just because of the majority culture that I've been raised in before I got in this suburban hellscape, is like I can't play like, and this is even a very like light example. I can't play Drake in a studio. They will not accept it. They're like, oh, rap music is almost unless it's in your own headphones, it's exclusively not accepted in like a studio space. I'm a ceramic art teacher now. I teach the intermediate classes, and like I'm like, there's no way I can play Drake in here. And they would, maybe Michael Bublé.
Oh,
Maybe
God.
maybe Adele, maybe some Imagine Dragon they go for.
Oh my
don't
God.
imagine
Like,
that with me.
Whew,
Yeah,
whew.
but they don't want to listen to like Immortal Technique. They don't want to listen to that, you know.
I mean, Santa Cruz was weird because you got a lot of. We were right next to the radio station, also, so you got a
Yeah.
lot of people coming in thinking they knew a lot about, like, there's a vibe there. Like, you're kind of weird and you listen to weird music, so you think you're really cool.
Right.
I don't know,
Yeah.
not to insult anyone who does that.
Hipsters. You're talking about hipsters.
Somebody came in and they were like, "Can you play some music?" And then he stopped and said, "Oh wait, your music sucks. I'm gonna play my music." And you know what he put on? He put on Gregorian chanting. Like, I'm not even joking you. Oh my God.
That sounds like the kind of guy who reads books in public just so that he needs
Oh
everyone
my
to know
God.
he reads.
Where do you do that? Like, I can't even make that shit up. Like,
Oh my God.
You
Oh
should
my
have turned to him
God.
and been like, "Yo, this fucking slaps, my guy.
That's wow.
Thanks for the
That's
boss battle
amazing.
music." Like,
I mean, like not even ironically, like it's funny, my stepsister one time when she worked at a coffee shop, it was in like a college town, I'm forgetting exactly where it was, but she had control of the music since she was the barista, and she put on a Spotify playlist of farm animal sounds.
that's so
damn.
great.
Yeah, but that was like she was fucking about, like she was definitely like playing, but legitimately putting on Gregorian chants because, quote, your music sucks, I'm gonna put on mine. Whew. Whew.
Like
I
it's too
know.
mainstream,
I
so it's bad.
I know.
That's amazing. Oh my God. Oh my God. All right. Well, we're coming up on about an hour, and
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we, have covered everything that you've kind of wanted to talk about. So is there, Evie, are there any questions that you were hoping that we'd ask that we didn't, or is there any like kind of, I don't know, closing statement that
No.
you wanna have, or
Anything you want to get off your back right now?
No, there's nothing I think that I came here thinking that you guys would ask me. I think we've covered it all.
I got a big
okay,
question.
yeah, go for it, go for it.
I'm gonna steal Lindsay's question from a long time ago. If you had like unlimited money for your art, what would you know what I mean? Like if you could buy like a 200-foot salt fire kiln, like what's the dream for you if you had unlimited money, resources, land for your artwork?
I think. See, I want to say like I would make giant guys like a la like those like guys in Oregon, those like massive trolls like under the bridges and stuff.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I would just
Yeah.
make these like massive, maybe not even that big, like people size, and I would just drop them all over the place for people to find. And that was like my dream in Santa Cruz because it's like the perfect place for it, like
Yes.
the middle of nowhere, and like there are already so many like weird little Easter eggs in the woods to find.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
I just never got my shit together, and honestly, transporting ceramics is so hard.
Yes, it is.
Like our kiln was like pretty big, but not big enough, I think, for the kind of shit that I wanted to do. But I think that's what I would do. I would just make these things. I wouldn't know if I'd even post about making them. I would just drop them, and I would leave like weird cryptic things on my Instagram, like no description posts, just like like maybe like a hint about where it is. I'd love like ARG shit, like
Yeah.
giant like find me quests out in the middle of nowhere. Like I love that shit.
Oh my
I want
God.
that so hard too. Like I want to, like when I die, I want to make a bunch of pots that you have to break open to find little clues to find my burial site, to find like my ultimate glaze recipe. You know what I mean?
Oh, I
I
love
can never
that.
release this to the public.
I want that for you so bad.
With
I
my
also
hand
want
in
that
like my
too.
hands like crushing a bottle as I'm dying, and the rest of my body is skeleton. And a little note in there just says like how to make a cone 6 oxidation red without like without
God.
reduction.
Yeah,
Oh
you
my
gotta
God.
get that cone 10 pink is like the cone 10
That's-
reduction pink. That'll be what it is.
Oh my God, I love that. Evie, it's been so much fun chatting with you.
Thank
Like,
you so much for having me, guys. It's been such a pleasure.
oh my God, yeah. Well, tell us where people can find your work, and
Find me on Instagram at Mudmonster Clayworks, and you can check out my shop at mudmonsterclayworks.com, which is just going to forward to a different address because I refuse to pay for it.
yes,
But yeah, find me on there. The links to everything are in my Instagram bio.
cool beans.
Fantastic. Thank you for talking with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yay. Okay.
Everyone.
Bye.
And And that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of The Mud Peddlers. We would love to hear from you, so if you want to share your thoughts about the episodes or just see what Donte and I are working on in our studios, come say hi. You can find links to my social media at lindseymdillon.com. That's Lindsey, M as in monster, DILLON.com.
And you can visit my pottery shop or see what I'm working on at earthnationceramics.com. And you can find me all over social media at earthnationceramics. It's spelled exactly how you think it's spelled.
And if you want to support the show, hear some bonus episodes, and see some behind the scenes of my work, you can support me and the show at patreon.com/Lindsey M Dillon. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.